Hello and a very good morning. We are live from the EANM Congress. My name is Roy Shepherd and loads of people coming in here this morning, as eager as ever. Our first session this morning is a topic which on the surface of it doesn't sound very exciting, but actually it's incredibly important. And that's the subject of guidelines. And I've been joined by Riemer Slart from the Netherlands, Tereza Kráčmerová, who's from the Czech Republic, and also somebody who I didn't recognize initially because you aren't in bright colors. We've got Wolfgang Wadsak. Good morning to you all. Wolfgang, you are involved in the Council for Guidelines and Publications. What's the difference between a council and a committee?
It's a good question, Roy. Good morning also. So councils are there to really support the board directly with tasks that were originally with the board, but are more executive tasks and not in scientific content generation where the committees have their place.
Okay, Riemer, can I ask you, what is the importance of guidelines? I mean, everybody hears about them, but unless you're actually involved in them, you don't necessarily realize the significance and the importance of them. So can you give us an overview, please?
Yeah, you need a guideline for your clinical practice, how to guide you for specific clinical questions, how to use a specific technique in a specific disease. It's very helpful for the professionals like us, nuclear medicine, but also of course for the patient. It really needs a good direction. What is the most optimal technique can use in this disease? And guidelines should be very professional on that. So how can we select the correct technique for the correct patient in this disease? And that's very important of guidelines.
So in terms of EANM's responsibility, which is Europe, but we have global audience who come from all over the world to this Congress. And nuclear medicine is growing massively, as we've seen with the numbers for the Congress. How do the guidelines in, say, the EU compare with guidelines in, say, Asia?
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's several options for that. Most important of this is also to join. There are different societies in the field. How can we join in current but also in future guidelines together to prepare this guideline? So that you also can adapt the guideline in different continents. That's very important, I think so. If there are two separate guidelines, we always try to compare them also to look where are the similarities, but where are also the differences between the guidelines, and to be aware of that.
Tereza, we're in a dynamic profession. Nuclear medicine is evolving and accelerating. How often do you have to relook at the guidelines?
I think in daily practice, because we use it daily, and if a new guideline comes up, it's more work for us as well.
Right. Why did you personally get involved in this council?
As a medical physicist, I miss some information in the guidelines, sometimes, not in every guideline. So why should say it's wrong? If I want to change something, I need to be involved. So that's why I come into that council.
So with the subject of guidelines, and we live in a litigious environment, how much is guidelines about protecting clinicians or researchers from potential legal action against you?
I think it's a difficult question because guidelines, of course, recommendations. They are guidelines. They are not law.
Absolutely,
as such.
Yes.
So they cannot get rid of your responsibility as a person and with your skills and with your experience and expertise to really judge on the individual case. So there might be cases where you need to deviate from guidelines for justifiable reasons, but you need to be able to justify them. But as a whole, they of course give you a framework where you can feel secure, saying this is really state of the art, this is where we are at the moment, and this is what we should follow, because then we get the best standard of care to our patients.
Well, you've just used the S word, which is standards. So this really is about creating an environment where you have world-class standards in your field at all times. So it's not really about guidelines then, is it? It's about raising the bar so that everybody is working to those higher standards.
Exactly, and also the foundation of this council in particular was also, that was one of the reasons to make sure that the quality of the EANM publications, and that is guidelines and others, is at the highest standard and has and does meet the requirements of our community, but not only locally, as you also already pointed out, but globally. I mean, we are teaming up with the SNMMI in the US, we are teaming up with the Australians and so on, with the leading societies in our field to make sure that we harmonize also on a global scale in that.
All right. Riemer, in terms of this council, it's guidelines and publications, and Wolfgang just mentioned publications. Why are the two put together within the council?
Yes, it's very important to develop these guidelines and also to publish these guidelines. And publish means also, is it in your own field, or do you want to share it also with other societies?
So you're not going into competition with the journals then?
No, you try to collaborate. That's very important, I think so. To have one line, to harmonize it also with the same thoughts about these guidelines and to implement it also in clinical practice. That's very important. So you have to harmonize and collaborate with that. And it's not only in our field of imaging societies, but also very important these days is to collaborate also with the clinical societies. So we can also say, okay, we develop some tech guideline, but do the clinician also want it this way in a clinical field? So the collaboration with the clinical societies and our imaging society is very important to develop these guidelines.
If you're dealing with lots of different societies which are all linked in some ways, how collaborative is it? Because we all know that, you know, one society will say, no, we've got the answer, it's our way or no way. So is there much conflict between the different societies?
Yeah, it depends on a little bit of society.
Don't name names.
No names, no names. Anonymous. I would say it depends on the society, I think so, but also what do you share also together? How important is your imaging technique in their fields? The more important it is, the more, in general, the higher is the collaboration, in general spoken. But it is sometimes just also a part of a clinical a guideline. It's just a part of it, and that's the part you focus on as from nuclear medicine, and that is the part you will also share.
So is this part of EANM's role then to reach out and to build the bridges between the different societies that on paper at least have a shared interest in raising standards throughout?
Yeah, you would like to do that. That's very important. And starting with collaboration can also be a first step for the future, to collaborate further in the future, also on different topics, maybe the same society. That's also very important.
All right, Tereza, talking about the future, where would you like to see this in the next 3 to 5 years perhaps? Because we all know that nuclear medicine is changing by the month.
Yeah, I would like to have some application. We already have clinical decision support, so we want to make it more live, more active, let's say. So maybe also we can get it together with other societies. So, for example, cardiologists can look and choose exact method for the disease.
Okay. Now, how many of you are involved in the council? And there's 3 of you here. There are a number of others. So, do you want to give a name check for the people who can't be here?
Okay, let me think them through. Yeah, so it's Giorgio Treglia from Switzerland, who is a methodologist, very important in this council. We have Riemer H.J.A. I hope I pronounced it roughly correctly. I think Riemer knows better.
H.J.A.
Okay, she's also from the clinical field, of course, with a little bit different background than Riemer. We have Pierre-Yves Salon from France in our committee, and we have, last but not least, Raquel Massa, who is a technologist. Also very important to include them and involve, have them on board, because they are talking to the patients. They also need to convey what is written on paper then in the end.
So what other skill sets would you welcome within the council for the future?
I think everything is welcome, because we cover a little bit the whole bandwidth of nuclear medicine at the moment, but as you said before, the field is evolving so quickly, so you need to be on top of things. Yeah, there might be issues with this or that topic, with AI, with I don't know what's coming up next in our field. And then you need to also have somebody taking care of that. Riemer is very good in AI already, so we have somebody also being on top of things there. But we really need to have a broader base, because also the tasks are not tiny, and they become more and more.
Yeah, Riemer, you've just been told that you're an AI expert, or perhaps you're an AI enthusiast. This is a topic that's come up in many different disciplines in which I work outside, EANM. How do you create guidelines for technologies that don't actually exist yet?
Yeah, I'm not the specialist in AI, but
you're interested
in that, yeah. and I see also the need to implement it also. That's very important. Yeah, you work together also with groups of the experts in the fields. How can we implement AI and also different levels of application of AI in our field? How can we do it? And we need a specialist for that. And so also the physicists is very important, this group, this kind of people to implement that. But data experts are very important, and also you have different societies on that. And so you come together and say, okay, how can we implement this and how can we improve the guidelines for us in the future by using AI?
All right,
in a safe way.
Well, and a trusted way. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. Can I just say thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. I hope you have a really good day. Before we came on the air this morning, they were talking amongst themselves about some of the sessions that they've been attending, and generally I think the consensus is the quality has just been superb this year, but we say that every year, don't we? Anyway, thank you for joining me. Have a great day today. Hope you have a great day as well, that you can attend some fascinating sessions, and we'll see you later on this afternoon for another EANM TV.